Good evening once again. I want to thank everybody for coming to our last Family Life Advisory Committee meeting of the school year. Want to first, I think, just explain where we are. So Brian and I are going to co-facilitate until Dr. Nahiro could arrive, and so we'll be able to do that. With regard to agendas and planning, we'll just review that agenda real quickly, and then we'll do some introductions. So with our agenda, I guess a couple other items, we'll call the meeting officially to order at 4:41 p.m. The public comment, and I'm not sure if we have any.
We do not have any public comment.
Great, okay. So no public comment at this time, so we will move forward. After our introductions, just a couple of things. We're going to be taking your feedback again on 4 resources. Those resources were provided to you in advance via email, so hopefully you had a chance to look at those. There'll be a second opportunity to look at those again, with the exception of the slide deck, which I will be reviewing first with you. The other items have been replicated here, and hard copies are provided on your tables. So with that, we do not, unfortunately, have at this time enough people to run a quorum for voting on the minutes, but they also were provided to you prior to this meeting. So we may have to table a vote on the approval of those until next year's session. With that, so being that we have no public comment and we're ready to go throughout the minutes, we would like to start with some introductions, and if you don't mind, I'll start with my left, with Brian introducing, and then we'll go around accordingly. Just tell us what feeder you represent and any other important information you'd like to share.
Brian Griffith, FCPS Secondary Health and PE Specialist, Staff Liaison for the committee.
Monica Cecil with the Health Department.
Amy Wilhelm, Health Educator at Kaufmansville High School.
Callie Zanarini, I'm in the Linganore feeder area. I have 1 kid in school.
Robin Seidel, I'm an RN, and I'm healthcare.
Joanne Deolade, and I'm an at-large member.
Kate Majewski, I'm from the Urbana feeder area. Krista Hannon, I'm from the Middletown feeder area. I have 3 girls. They're staggered, so I'll be in the school system for a while. I guess what's funny.
Steve Lockwood, principal at Newmarket Elementary School.
And I'm Jamie Hitchner. I'm the other staff liaison to the committee, and I'm a curriculum specialist for elementary health and physical education. And thankfully, this is not a meeting of the debate team, because I feel like that group has a little bit more of an attendance thing. So I'm going to count on my folks on this side to hold down the group tonight. So thank you all for being with us, and look forward to your participation here this evening. With that, first item under old business is the member feedback, seeking your feedback about a lesson for first grade. So before we really dig deeper into that piece, I want to just provide some context for you. Look up that item. Actually, let me do even further context. So some of you would recall having served on the committee last year. I know some of you did not, so that's why I just wanted to prepare this just in advance. And I know now the expectation is not to really read that from the back row, but I just wanted, for your visual thoughts here, we did a crosswalk, and this group asked for a crosswalk from last year, which talked about our standards from 2014 and a crosswalk into the alignment document for the standards that the Board of Education approved in the year 2022. So that document is here and provided. So I'm just going to scroll over, and then again, this speaks specifically to family life education. There are tons more grade level outcomes for each of the standards, but we're, for the purpose of this committee, drilling onto that. So I'm going to read aloud just to help the folks that are further away from the screens. The previous curriculum standard of 2014 read as follows: students will demonstrate the ability to use human development, knowledge, social skills, and health-enhancing strategies to promote positive relationships and health growth and development throughout the life cycle. The new standard, the new framework of the standards are really parsed out a lot differently. And so the new standard, which speaks specifically to family life, reads, Standard 1, concepts related to health promotion and disease prevention. Students will comprehend concepts related to health promotion and disease prevention to enhance health, including family life and human sexuality. And from there are grade level specific standards, grade level specific outcomes. So this document went on to show some alignment from what was currently in practice in 2014 to what was approved. Just as a reminder, even though they were approved by our Frederick County Board of Education in 2022, we have not put any new materials into the school system because that was the direction we were given, and that was also under the direction of this committee as well. So we do have an alignment document that is in existence, and from that, our curriculum writers were using this as a basis of showing materials that were previously in development and how they could be realigned to meet the new language of the 2022 standards. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that part of it so far? So I'm going to scroll down to grade 1, which brings us to tonight's resource. It's a grade 1 resource. Pardon me if I get there. Okay. So in 2014, the grade level outcomes for first grade read as follows. Identify what is special about your family. The next one is describe special traits about each member of your family. And then the final one for first grade, recognize differences in family structure and customs. That was the previous language. Now that further brain size got a lot finer, small things, and probably in items that you're more familiar with since you've served on this committee for the current year. 1C11 for the current 2022 standards read, describe differences in families, and then it draws out examples. And it's important to note, these are only examples. It's not part of the standard as far as the competency is concerned. They just, the state framework gives certain examples of what differences in families might look like, because again, this is a document that goes all the way across the state, Maryland, and it's up to each local to interpret and to discern what might be most important to address in a child's education so far as differences in families. The next indicator reads, identify healthy family and peer relationships. What would those skills look like? What would those outcomes look like in helping a young first grader to understand those concepts? The next few demonstrate how to communicate respect for someone's personal boundaries and identify the range of ways people identify and express gender. I felt like it was important to read all of them because they exist in our document. But for the purpose of tonight's review, the resource that you're going to see and share a comment about does not include anything to do with range of ways to identify or express gender. I wanted to point that out in advance to give you that full context, that we would have to, as a curriculum development team, we would have to come up with other resources to address that grade level outcome. And currently, I can say we do not have any resources to address that. So it's not in existence at this point. And again, these are resources that are in development. And so that brings me to the current resource that's for your review. Again, this was shared with you in advance. And so, again, further context, last time this committee convened in March, we watched a video. We watched a series of a couple different videos. We looked at your feedback. We took the feedback into consideration. And of the 3 videos, this particular resource for the first grade, I think we did a pre-K and we did a third grade, second grade. And the first grade resource, by consensus, seemed to receive the most favorable feedback. Not perfect, but the most favorable in terms of moving forward into a curriculum development and a design phase. So with that, teams of writers put together resources, and I wanted to show you tonight what that is looking like, again, still in the developmental stage, but then also from a feedback stance to take more feedback back to our team so that we could maybe improve, get things ready, because we realize it's not perfect and it's not finished in that sense. Just want to give you an idea of a process and how meticulous this process really works. I would point your attention at this time to our feedback form. You have this on your table. It's got a little gray stripe at the top. And all of the feedback that we wish to collect from you this evening is all on this one piece of paper. There are 4 things to review tonight. And so just looking at this, there's slightly a different approach to the feedback for each of these items. But what you'll know, I'll give you some time to get to that document. For the resource that's entitled Families and Relationships, there are 3 objectives that are seeking to educate children in our first grade. You've heard me say them before, but I'll just kind of restate what's on your review paper. Describe differences in families, identify healthy family and peer relationships, and the last one, demonstrate how to communicate respect for someone's personal boundaries. So those are the 3 foci for this particular lesson. So looking at feedback, the prompts are as follows. Is the resource age appropriate? We had discussions this year. This committee had those discussions about how to determine age developmental appropriateness. So in your best wisdom, what feedback could you lend there? More or less a yes or a no. Are the activities aligned to the grade level outcomes? Okay, so there'll be some activities within this lesson that the students would be engaged upon, and then to see what your thoughts are about whether they're aligned to the objectives, the grade level outcomes. 3, is the content within this lesson factual? Please provide your best thoughts about that. And number 4, are there areas, whether it be items or slides or certain concerns with certain slides that compel further examination, edits, or more information? Are they needed? So please feel free to jot down some information. We would ask that at the end, you're going to please put your name on this so that if we could have follow-up with you, it would be for that purpose. It wouldn't be to share, oh, so-and-so said this about this resource. It's just to really maybe put some bullets down, and we would like to learn more about your perspective on what you're sharing on the form. And then lastly, number 5 there says, is there a value add to this resource? So is there information, attitudes, messaging? Does this resource have the potential to add value to the elementary school students' experience? Why or why not? And then additional comments, please, if you have any. Okay? Any questions about what we're going to do to proceed on this first one? All right, so we will proceed. Again, I'm just going to try to work through several different things. Again, I don't expect you to read this, but we have basically two items that are in play here. What's up on the screen is a lesson plan. This is really teachers only, like for teachers only type of work. It's not something that the students would see. It's just guidance and direction that would help the teachers provide instruction. Okay, again, we restate the idea that these teachers have to be trained in order to deliver these type of resources. They are not certified in health education, okay, but because of the training, they could technically be qualified in terms of offering instruction in this area. So this would be the lesson plan, and then from the lesson plan, this is kind of the bones, and then the muscle of the lesson plan go into a slide deck, which would be more student-facing. So the students would see that information. So I just wanted to give you kind of the backstory on how that would work. So our teachers have created a lesson plan, complete with links. You'll see in the middle of the page, the link to the slideshow that I'm getting ready to show you is there, as well as the link to the YouTube video that you all reviewed last meeting in the month of March. Okay, so that's there. Then there's also some opportunities for cross-curricular connections and how we work across content level to work through language arts or social studies perhaps, and then looking at the comprehension factor, that our students able to comprehend what it is that they're expected to learn. And then there are key phrases or key words, key vocabulary that the teachers must educate each child with the backstory on that, and building the schema or building the background so that they could begin to apply their knowledge into a certain skill. And those prompts are also listed in bold, and you'll see those come out when we show you the slide deck here in a minute. And also the directions to the student activities themselves are linked within the lesson plan. My instructions to curriculum writers have always been that when we're creating a slide deck, anything that deals with the sharing of instruction to students, we put in the speaker notes of the slide deck. So for instance, directions on how to cut and paste the activity you'll see. All those directions get put into the slide deck so that they're just there for the students to reference. It also, quite honestly, makes a nice transition that if, not wishing this again, that we ever endure a pandemic, but if we ever have to go back to a hybrid model, we're ready. We have things that folks can use and utilize to go back and forth between documents and sharing screens and that type of thing. So we have interventions, we have extensions for students that need to be further challenged with their understandings or to address questions. That's a little bit about driving force behind the student-facing resource. So with families and relationships, there's pictures here of what we understand to be maybe a family. There's nothing that needs to be inferred by it other than just examples that so our students maybe could see themselves in the curriculum with that. Mixed families, blended families, small families, big families, those type of things. Again, first grade comprehension level. So this is our title slide. Next slide, we always ask that the language from the state framework is embedded within. This is just my opinion. I don't want to influence everybody, but this has the ability. You can actually hide this, not that we're hiding something from students or parents or anybody else that wants to look at this, but just the idea of we have on the very next slide, I can statements, which are basically drilled down to the first grade base of knowledge so that I can describe differences in families. I can identify healthy relationships. And then we begin to unpack those key words so that kids can understand what they are. Then we talk about success criteria. Well, how do I know if I can do those two things? Those other two statements. I can create a family tree and tell one way that is different from a classmate's. I can name a person that I have a healthy relationship with and just get them to internalize what the meanings of those are. It's not someone telling you, oh, you have to have the healthiest relationship with mom or dad or grandparent or whoever the head of the household might be. Your healthiest relationship might be with a sibling. Just for getting kids to identify and connect. That's really what our intention here is. So here's our first activity. It's a get up and movement activity. It's also kind of an every student, every pupil response type of activity. So I want you to try to envision this a little bit. You can envision, we didn't do this tonight because we're going to try to keep it moving, but all four corners have a color poster, purple, red, green, yellow. We ask prompting questions. We get kids getting up, moving, and then also talking to one another, have that student discourse, have the student conversation, whether it's small group or one-to-one with a shorter partner. And the prompt here is, how many people live in your house? And the answer responses are as follows, and then kids will be directed, get up out of your seat, move over to those corners of the room, maybe talk to someone about what the makeup of your family is, if they feel comfortable. If they feel comfortable also has to be a consideration in this resource. Because we have homeless, we have folks that are adopted, we have foster families that maybe they don't feel like they're part of. So we have to be sensitive to that. So I just want to throw that out there because that is feedback from other groups that are vetting this resource. Do you have any siblings? And then they identify brother, sister, both, only child in the family. What do you like to do with your family? And here's 4 items. I'll leave that to your interpretation. I'll read those for you. And the purple is hard to read back there. Watch a movie. Red, play a game. cook together in green, and then go for a hike or a walk is in yellow. So they get a chance to try to do some interest. And again, this could be modified. Teachers who already have a relationship with their students might have a different set of 4 that they know their students could possibly relate to, connect with. So these are all very interchangeable. How do you have, or who do you have the best relationship with in your family? Choices are mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparent. Again, interchangeable. They can put other responses in there if teachers feel comfortable doing that. Okay, so what is family? This definition was created by this committee back in, I think, 2014 or 15, and approved basically by the board with their permissions. Family means different things to different people. Members of a family are connected together by sharing meaningful characteristics. What matters the most is how your family defines family with you. And that was just the definition. There's supposed to be our operating definition in any of our instructional materials, is particularly with our younger age learners. Who is in your family? This is an embedded slide, so if you notice, you might notice those in the back might have a hard time. If I move my cursor into the middle here, this goes right to the video that you all reviewed last time. Do a little bit of an introduction to the video. After a discussion, the teacher has all the different prompts in the 4 corners, brings them back to center. Then they have a whole group discussion about what did they notice about their friends or families, talk about similarities, talk about differences, talk about the respect for one another's differences, and then that's okay. Still falls under that operational definition of family. That it can mean several things. There's not one right, not one wrong, aspect. And then they get a chance to go through the video that we all previewed last time. We stop there a moment. Down here, I know that's hard to read in the back again. I'll read it for you. The teacher explained what we were going to listen to. Explained that we were going to listen to a story about different types of families. You can read the book or listen online at the YouTube link that's provided if you don't have the book. And again, getting a chance to have an opportunity for students to watch the video and then have some discussion questions afterwards. Just giving you for instance, because I know I mentioned this last time in March. Some people had comments on their feedback form that videos for this age group tend to be a little longer than maybe could be productive. So maybe the curriculum writing team needs to look at various stop points and stop the video in progress to debrief and have class discussions within the context of certain parts of the book, certain parts of the video. So that's not part of these instructions right now, but I can see a likelihood very well could be helpful and well received by teachers if we were to choose to do that. So just looking at my own void of an area where we can capture the teachable moment, putting some instructions for the teacher's benefit in there. So continuing on, how are the families different from that book? And then our closing and our final activity is kind of a learning tree of sorts. Students would be asked to kind of unpack the learnings from the day and write names of significant people in their family on, and then cut them out, post those leaves on a tree, glue the leaves, and color them. And then they could begin to compare and contrast the tree of a colleague or of a peer, of a student, and have discussions amongst themselves about what was different. Again, I could share with you discussions from the curriculum writing team of, is there value in asking students, well, is there a reason why you put this person at the top of your tree versus the lower branches of the tree? Are we making metaphors and connections with closer to our roots? Different things represent different things to different people, and it's okay to be different. And then something else that would be important for teachers to point out is that this very activity is also very relevant when we move to second grade in our personal body safety. When we talk about boundaries, talking about hands and feet to the self, talk about who could be touching certain parts of your body with permission. And so this activity always steers kids back to their trusted adult or their trusted family members. So it also represents a layer of trust. And they would be asked to review a similar activity when they're in a personal body safety activity in second grade. So it really blends in nicely from that standpoint. And then there would be just lesson closure again to loop back around to our daily objectives and ask students to unpack whether they were successful in meeting the objectives for the day. So that is really, right now, as far as what's on the draft board and what's on the drawing board, that is in a nutshell the summary of this lesson for first grade family life unit. And just one, that seems to be the one that connects to our most recent meeting here with this group. So I would invite you to provide feedback and comment. Once you have things down, I noticed many of you, thank you for diligently writing things as I was sharing, and that's fine, that's totally appropriate. If folks would like to share publicly, you feel comfortable, we'll have a discussion in about 2 more minutes. So take this time now, please, to finish your documenting on the paper, and then take some opportunities for you to share out if you wish. Take about another minute, please.
Very good. I was on autopilot. I like never. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, you're fine then. Oh.
Yeah, several of us did that. Oh, yeah. The most recent one?
It was just,
It's highlighted in the agenda, yeah.
Sorry, sorry. Some of my life is right now. Is the next one gonna be, oh, that'll
We
be
don't
the
know.
fall. Okay.
I would say yes, it's not, we would be able to return it.
And then I started driving here in the gas line. This is-
Stop and shoot.
No, I
You
didn't.
just pushed it.
No, I got it. Stopped it.
Oh.
I set a timer on the
Correct side of the road.
1 minute, whatever gas I can get in 1 minute, let's do it.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Okay, Is there anyone that would like to, Amy?
The one question, how many people live in your house? I just had a thought, like, you might have a home or, I don't know, you might have multiple homes, especially if your parents are divorced.
Mhm.
So that little question popped in my head. And I thought a fun question would be, how many animals do you have? Like another one
Okay.
for that activity.
And you have all this written down, right?
Yes.
Okay. Brian's helping me take notes right now, so I'm sure we don't miss something. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I just had a, yeah. But
Good.
overall, I thought the activity was fun. Getting them up.
First grade, yeah, it's-
There was a slide about pick your best relationship. I'm not sure I would ask a first grader to make that choice. I think that for them to, I think that's a sophisticated and maybe unfair
Having to
question to
choose.
ask them, yes. So maybe tell us a family member that you have, and whatever the words are, good or happy, or whatever you want, whatever the word is that you're healthy. I mean, if they
If they comprehend health, I get it.
you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
No,
I
that's
don't, I think just, cause, and also, if a child is in conflict or if family members are in conflict and they're asked to pick one and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, that would be, I just think that might be an unfair question to expect them to be able to articulate. So maybe like name one or write down one person, they could write brother or grandmother or dad, whatever. So that's what I
like that question.
Almost,
How do they define best
Yeah, like-
relationship? What is that
like
definition?
an 11th grader, I would say, sure. No, they would definitely be able to tell you, but the first grade,
it's almost inherent that if you, I like the suggestion, by the way, it's almost inherent that if you phrase it that way, the person that they choose is probably the safest person. They feel the safest with.
well,
Say,
but
But we're not gonna
I'm gonna
characterize
tell you
that.
from a clinical standpoint, they might feel, you could swap that and say they feel guilty, so they're gonna say dad because they haven't seen him in 5 months. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, not for a first grader.
Yeah. Oh, no, but I'm just saying inherently, like it would not be posed that way. It would be
Yeah.
posed, it would be posed the way you suggested.
That's just one of the things I was.
I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I mean, I just figured like, if I'm given the chance to put, is it the first person that jumps in my head or?
Right,
am I
like,
gonna
is it
make-
the
yeah.
man that just yelled at me before I got out of the car, or is it the person, like, you know what I mean, who knows what it could be?
Yeah,
And I didn't mean that.
Yeah. And it wasn't meant to be concrete or definitive. I was just, I guess, maybe spurring on conversation.
Yeah.
Probably didn't do that. Okay,
So-
good, thank you though, good suggestions. Any other feedback input?
Notice that you have slide 6 and 7, questions about their family. Define family. Order. Only know.
Okay, so put that one, change the order. Okay, they're good, and you have it written down. right? That's perfect, yeah, that's great, thank you. Anything else? Thank you. I'm very anxious to read all of the feedback forms, but I appreciate those that shared here. And also, now I have more information to take back to the team, so I really appreciate that. All right, so we're going to transition to new business. That's where we are. So, and I feel good, so hopefully, Steve, you feel better now. You got free. We were going to turn this into a debate team, and that side of the room was clearly like, well.
Yep. All right, we're good to go. One thing real quick, on the agenda, we have YRBS, and we've also had STI that's been on the back burner. They finally have some STI data. It is from 2022, but they do have it. It was not in time enough to get here. As part of this whole process, you know, it takes us a while to get through all the steps in order to get the documents ready for this as a board meeting. But the first meeting you all requested, one of the things you requested was the first meeting next year, we do some background work beforehand. So we do some of that big picture, what is the Family Life Committee and all that kind of stuff be done ahead of time. So when we come to the meeting, we can hit the ground running with what we need to do. So I have, and again, with approval and everything, but Rissa Watkins, the epidemiologist at the health department, should have the latest YRBS data and have this STI data that she is willing to come and present to you all. So that would be part of the agenda for the first meeting. How does that sound? Good? Okay, so for those of you who will be joining us on the 2024-2025 Family Life Advisory Committee, that will be part of our first session. Rissa Watkins will be here, STI, and the updated YRBS information. Okay? Perfect. So the next thing, one of the things that we want to do is again, with these, we've been talking about doing these parent workshops and different information and things like that. How can we increase transparency and information related to health education? So I was lucky enough to attend a national conference. At the national conference, Boston Public Schools shared these fantastic resources. They were paid for out of a grant. They are a system our size that has 20, Jamie and Brian. 20 people working in an office, the same school system our size. So luckily through a grant, one of their grant people were able to create these wonderful documents. Jamie and I have been looking at them and tweaking them. And kind of what we would like your feedback on is your feedback as parents and community members. Are these valuable? Would these be beneficial? And kind of what we were thinking is using these as part of our parent preview opportunities. So elementary, we have parent preview opportunities. Secondary, we have 2 parent preview opportunities. To incorporate those, we have our website, our public-facing website for health and physical education essential curriculum as well. We were going to incorporate them as part of that, asking our teachers to have these documents released and put out not only as part of their parent preview opportunities, but also as part of any folders that they share or information that they share with parents on a regular basis. So there are 3 documents that we would like you to be looking over. Again, we're using the same review sheet, but on the first half, the bottom half, the one that Jamie just talked about, FCPS student-friendly HE standards draft. HE again just stands for health education. So that's the one that is up here. So on the one side is our national health education standards, and our national health education standards were just released and updated, but they are very similar to our previous ones. But on the left-hand side are kind of student wording. And so one of the things that Jamie and I were talking about is what kind of grade level would those documents be useful for? Because looking at this, obviously you're not going to give some of those student statements to a kindergarten. So obviously those would have to be tweaked for our different grade bands as well. But mainly for a secondary one that may not be bad. The second document on the back page, the very top one, that says FCPS Health Teacher one-pager draft. So that's the one, FCPS Health Teachers. So that's the information up at the top. And again, just gives a background about what different teachers are. One of the things that Jamie and I talked about, and again, one of the questions that we have, what kind of information? Jamie, you can scroll down to the bottom of that. Contact information and things like that. So on this document, we don't have our website listed there. But the other thing is, again, if this is produced by a teacher, shared out by a teacher, this will be a Google Doc that we're just giving to teachers. Teachers can put their information on, or they can put our information on there, and we can have our curriculum, our website added on there as well. So we just added that. And then at the bottom of that page, it says FCPS HE overview. So that's a 2-page document, front and back. And what it does, the front page just gives an overview of health education in general. And then the back page gives a little bit more information on family life. And so if you look at the middle of that bracket, what you see is the grade bands, not grade specific. Again, this would be too long of a document, but we kind of said pre-K to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. What are some of the big topics students are learning inside of those different areas? And again, those are pulled straight from our frameworks, our central curriculum as well. Okay. Any initial questions or review? Again, we sent these out. If you already looked at them, fantastic. Yep.
I know we reference family life as family life and human sexuality. We've never used the acronym SHE. I just was curious if that would, I don't know, that was different.
So
Not my attention.
I think that is one that we're going to have to look at and change. And so again, if you look at the big, if you open up the second, scroll down a little bit, please. So in that title bar as well, growth, development, and sexual health education, obviously, I think because we do use the terms family life and human sexuality, that would be family life and human sexuality as well. Great point. She and that, I think, both should be changed.
I just want to say, I think these are excellent, especially like people that is doing very good with trying to do. My only criticism would be really minor, things like MSDE.
Wow.
So, you know, you can, I'm not a huge fan of footnotes, but, you know, you can say licensed experts in this or.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And there are a couple of, might want to make sure that what you're using cleared up most adults, you know. I might be able to help with that. I think I might be.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is more than 8th grade level. Linguistically affirming student-centered curricula. Thinking
Which one?
the FCPS health teachers, it says they create safe and supportive learning environments and provide culturally and linguistically affirming student-centered curricula that support student achievement and well-being and empower students to be healthy.
Wait, isn't this for the parents?
The teachers.
Parents and teachers.
I thought
But-
that was for parents.
It is community members, but again, looking at what the grade level that we send out to people, yeah.
I think this should be sent to every parent. Because.
No. What the reading level is too high. So we should make it more appropriate for everybody inside of our community as well. So that's why typically they say 8th grade is the target level of information that should be distributed. But these resources would be meant for and accessible by all of our community members. So parents, community members, businesses, and anybody under the sun.
The way you have the help with students practices health promotion and disease prevention. Just because I'm thinking public health lingo, also protection, I think should be some kind of protection or and from health promotion, disease prevention, and also protecting themselves. I can do some verbiage there.
Perfect, yeah. Thank you. This is why we brought it to you. This is the feedback that we need. So this is just the draft at this point in time. We hope not. We hope it will be translated.
I like this one a lot, except with SMART goals. There's a lot of kids. I mean, it's in the kids part of it too. And I don't even want to know. I know what SMART goals all are, and I don't even want that knowledge. So but that's not something my kids know. So, yeah.
You just take out smart, so just like it set goals.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think that's fine for
Yeah.
the students.
I think you're gonna get some pushback, because, on the highlighted comprehensive health education is required, highlighted, I think you might get because there's still opt-out forms for the family life and human sexuality, and that statement doesn't specify or clarify the difference between what is opt-in, what is opt-out. You might just get some pushback, a little.
So with the statement, so if we change, and that's why K through 5 is highlighted there, that is probably going to be tweaked, but the district policy requires comprehensive health education pre-K to 12. That statement is okay, but then the next statement, we tweak that.
Yeah, I just think it's odd that it's there again right after.
Okay. Yep.
Or just like even like an asterisk at the bottom, or the opt-out forms are still available, or opt-out forms are available at
Yeah.
NCPS, or adding that statement.
Elaborate on that a little bit. So what you can't see now because it's just screen. If I were to click on this link, since we're right here today, so this is, and I'm sorry, I'll just give you an idea. So that link can be activated if this resource would eventually go on a public website. This is the suggested monthly map to illustrate to parents, which would I think be the intended audience for this, to show a suggestion to parents as to everything that health education entails at the elementary level. And just to be consistent with Ryan's secondary piece about what the model looks like at middle school versus what the model looks like in high school, we needed to show some kind of modeling for what it's going to look like at elementary school. So this would go to a suggested monthly classroom map, and it just shows, so for instance, in these far left columns through September, October, November, the PATHS curriculum, working on the social emotional structures of students, would be the entry point for all students in pre-K through 5. Then in November, December, get into different units: personal safety, drug, alcohol, tobacco, oral health, sun safety, which would be right now, today in May. And let's see, what sexual abuse, violence prevention, as well as grade 5 family life, and then it would all mix through the grades. So that, again, helpful resource to parents to know what would be included in their child's curriculum in these various grade levels. And again, this is comprehensive in the sense that all of these things would be implemented in our schools, but it may be a different order in Newmarket than it would be in Middletown and the like. Teachers still have to manage a schedule to get it all in, but this is just a sample of what teachers have as a suggestion.
Go back to that document. So instead of just saying for grades pre-K to 5, instead of saying comprehensive health education is required, do a comprehensive health education summary. And then parents could click on that, community members could click on that and get to your resource.
Instant change. Love it.
Another minute, please.
Talking about this one too.
Yep.
I just was wondering about, and actually it's more of a question, what you all think about under the pre-K to 3, mostly just about grade 3, adding staying safe online, because I think third graders have access to phones.
Before that.
Yeah, would that be a good one to bring in earlier?
Is that currently part of?
It's currently not.
It is or it's
It's
not?
currently not.
I just think it should be added.
Probably not at MSDE or at both MSD and FCPS.
So right now, everything that's about digital citizenship is in library media science department from the elementary. So that's how it's approached and handled. I think as a local, we can make that decision. We can certainly move in that direction. I'll make note of it here in the resource so that we could look at adding it. I think because we've tried to collaborate with folks who are currently responsible for writing that curriculum, I think it can be a really easy move into something that would be inclusive among this document.
Personal boundaries, like that personal boundaries online, when someone's communicating with you. That safety or safety concerns.
Or a friend has a phone, wants to take a picture, you know. Or that kind of. It is younger.
Like a 7-year-old brother, sister.
And maybe exploring with them, what do they use? Like, do you use, like, you know what social media is? I mean, I think a lot of kids have phones by 11 now. Like, so that's what, 4th grade, 5th, earlier. So, like, what do you use a phone for? What do you use an iPad for? Like that, to just start that conversation and generating thought about, oh, play games, or talk to my grandmother, or talk to people that I don't know. Like,
Well, and my daughter does the after-school daycare, before and after-school daycare, and she's in a mix with some kids that are older. And they're not supposed to, but they have them. So she's wondering, you know, like, what are they talking about when they mean they want to get likes, or they want to get this? What is this whole thing about emoji? And I'm like, I don't know. And you see when you post something, you consent to post it, and then, you know, and it's just.
and see, that's interesting because I know like, let's say a kids camp, counselors are what, sometimes 13, 14, like junior counselors. I've seen it when my kids have been in camps. Counselors are filming kids in TikToks and then they're posting them. And not for any malicious reasons, but there's little 8 and 6 and 7-year-olds and they're, you know, dancing. And then older kids are like, look at these cute. I mean, it's all for fun, but now those kids are out. Parents don't know. So yeah, maybe just getting kids to think about, like, why do you, you know, do you have a device or do you use electronics? Why? And just start getting that. Because if you jump right to staying safe online in 4th grade, do they know what online is in 3rd grade and 2nd grade? Yes, they probably do, but.
So I will say, as part of that, as I said, a few weeks ago, the new National Health Education Standards were released. So what is going to happen at the State Department of Education? The State Department is looking at all content areas, not just health education, but all content areas. And they are creating a standards framework validation committee. And basically what that committee is going to do is over the next year, look at the frameworks for all content areas, including health education. Now, the updated version of the National Health Education Standard actually used language from our state framework in order to create that. We were lucky enough, one of our colleagues from Prince George's County was actually on the national committee. And so she actually took our framework and said, look at this is what you're talking about. Because one of the old standards were, they had a lot of the same verbs going through, and basically we wanted to make sure that there was growth and differentiation between the verbs, even though there was similarities between some of the information. Again, National Health Education Standards do not identify specific content. Specific content is only identified by the states themselves. So hopefully that committee applications are actually due on Friday. That committee should be starting up this summer and roll out over the next year. So over the next year, we'll have some updates on what is going on with the state framework and how that is moving forward and everything else. So we'll see. And as always, any state changes to the state framework, we will be giving you feedback as well, asking for your feedback as we move forward with information frameworks and stuff. Just a little FYI. If you don't, yeah, sorry.
I'm not exactly sure where this would fit in, and I'm not really clear how to articulate this, but maybe in the grounded and social emotional learning competencies, somewhere in there, maybe in healthy relationships or social emotional well-being, there should be something about recognizing or awareness and cognizant of like neurodiversity within student bodies, like what might.
So in the FCPS health education, help teachers, that the section in the middle here should include something about recognition of neurodivergent students. Divergent. Or diverse.
Social emotional well-being, that how a neurotypical child might require, a neurodiverse child might require more different things to get to the point where they feel more healthy, calm, with accommodations.
So if there are anything that you would write down on these documents, we will gladly take them as our feedback. If you would like more time, again, you have access to these documents. You can make a copy, make things right on that document itself, and then shoot that to me as well. We'd appreciate any feedback. Membership for enforcement. Yeah, membership. Yeah. Well, sorry. Close. Good job. Yep.
So I'm going to talk about the membership piece. So a big, huge thank you, first of all, everyone here that's attending, those that couldn't make it and might be viewing this later online. I want to thank everyone in this committee for serving a great year, productive year, and the amount of service and feedback you provided to these processes have been just invaluable to helping us move forward in the curriculum department specifically, but then with matters that pertain to family life and sexuality education. So we can't begin to thank you enough. It's not an easy task, and you have not been asked to do easy things. You managed to step up each and every time that we ask for feedback, and we thank you for that because it's going to help out. Thank you to everyone in the room right now, specifically. I believe everyone has made contact with Catherine Rich, from Secretary from the Board of Education, who reached out to everyone, asking if they would either continue to serve in their current role, or would they like to be reappointed for a new term? And thank you for your response to those things. And if you yet to respond, please do that as soon as possible. I know the board would be anxious to get your interest, your level of interest, because they would like to post vacancies to get a new slate of members filled throughout the summertime so that September rolls around, this group is ready to go. So thank you. If you have any questions about that after the meeting, you can talk to Brian and I, and we'll be happy to either make connections for you or just take notes as to what your preferences are in terms of serving or continuing to serve. Or if you have to dismiss your participation for next year, we understand that too. So I think all that information has been collected, so you would be looking for opportunities to serve, looking for your emails. Please monitor emails throughout the summer months, and then also pay attention to Board of Education notifications that go out to the entire community asking for more participation, and just stay the active participants that you have been. We appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback on that. Does anybody have any questions for the good of the group, for the good of the order, about the membership for next year? Ray, is there anything you want to say along those lines? Okay. So with that, I think we'll move on to any other items, our future agenda items. We did not post these on this agenda, but just to understand, we have not forgotten about the input that was offered not only last meeting in March, but suggestions that have been made, and they've been in the queue for the organization of this group going forward for next year. I know the cyber safety has been brought up numerous times. Our workshop opportunities for parents have been brought up numerous times. So they will continue to be in the queue for consideration for more work and agenda items.
We have a lot to do our first 2 meetings next year, so.
Yeah, and even the executive committee, Renee and Jen and Raven have met to really start formulating what those agendas are even going to look like next fall. So hopefully there's a lot of activity going to happen, and you'll have a full task of items to chew on. Good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Beyond the things I just mentioned, are there other items that you would like documented for the record for helping us pay attention to relative to family life education?
I have a question. Do they, when people come up and they start asking questions about the reading levels and math levels, do we ever discuss that and what goes into the curriculum concerning that?
I don't think so. Not the purview. It's pretty. Yeah.
I just wonder.
No, thank you. Good question. What else? Okay. I guess I'll turn it back to Renee. Would you like to ask for a motion to adjourn?
Hey, yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I will not be able to be involved in the committee this year. A lot of things on my plate. Good end, not too many times, but I wanted to thank you all and encourage you all to continue the participation. One of my favorite quotes ever is, without advice, a nation falls. I put my all of you advising our wonderful staff here, and thank you guys for the work that you do. It really helps, and you know, it's our most important resource. We need to keep them safe from all. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Anybody second?
We have tally on the motion. Yes.
Motion.
And a second?
No. In favor? Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Meeting adjourned
Appreciate your time.
at 5:44. Thank you.